All right, well, just in the interest of time, I'll go ahead and begin with the presentation. So I'm Sandra Charletta. I'm the Administrative Director for CM2. And welcome to our first brown bag of spring. Unfortunately, in February, due to snowpocalypse, we were not able to host our February brown bag. We had to cancel it, but we are back with our virtual March presentation. So very much looking forward to that. There we go. So just a quick overview of the agenda. First, we're going to have Mashur Rahman, a PhD CRP program student. He will be presenting his research on airport governance and mega-regional planning. And this research has been conducted with Dr. Jean-Claude Chiara. We'll have 10 minutes for Q&A after his presentation, and then we'll begin with our second guest speaker, Dr. Eric Guerra, Associate Professor of City and Regional Planning at UPenn, with his presentation, What the Heck is a Choice Writer? A Theoretical Framework and Empirical Model. And again, another Q&A for his presentation afterwards. And then I will also mention this when we are completed with our presentation, but we did also want to let people know that we will be having a guest speaker, Dr. Zhenhua Chen, on the 31st of this month. So please check our website for details. We will be sharing the Zoom link for his presentation on March 31st. So without further ado, please let me turn this over to Mashur. So that you can go ahead and begin your presentation. I will stop share from here.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our presentation on airport and mega-regional planning. I am Mashur Rahman. I'm working with John Claudia and Megan Ryerson in this project. The title of the project is Airport Governance in US Metro Regions, Institutional Models and Their Implications for Mega-Regional Transport. So there are many reasons why considering airport is important in regional and mega-regional planning. First of all, airports are large trip generators in a region, especially large hub airports. And therefore, access to airport for passengers and employees within the catchment area becomes really important for congestion management. And on the top of it, there has been a significant changes in airline industry since 2000s. Airlines are concentrating their operations in large key hub airports and reduce their operations in small and medium airports. Which extended the geography of airport choice. And this phenomenon is called market leakage. So this market leakage has important implications on surface transportation because people are traveling longer distance beyond the catchment area of the airport and also beyond the region. And these mega-regional dynamics is very important in planning for aviation, planning for surface transportation, planning for regional transportation, and also planning for economic development. But we do not know much about how airport and MPOs interact with each other regarding these access issues, and also whether the existing institutional mechanism is sufficient or able to tackle these mega-regional dynamics. So in this context, our research question is, what are the formal and informal relationship exist between airports and MPOs regarding aviation and surface transportation? And for this, we need to know about governance, especially what are the governance models present among the airports and how this type of governance structure contribute or hamper the relationship. Study approach. For this study, we conducted literature review. We looked at various important documents like SCRP report and Government Accountability Office, GAO reports, and other studies. We selected one case, one mega regions for in-depth study. Maybe we can add one more case, complementary case later. The criteria we looked at what types of different governance models are present in the region, what are the level of coordination, regional growth, and importantly, the extent of market leakage happening in the mega region. Then we conducted a desk research for this case, looking at the documents, websites, and we are conducting interviews of the key informants who included airport and MPO officials. So our lit review focused on 3 issues. First of all, market leakage and mega regional challenge. Second, MPO's role in airport planning. And third, airport governance model. Let's start with market leakage. In between 2008 and 2013, 6 major airlines merged into 3. And like I said, they concentrated their operations in large hub airports and reduced operation in small, medium hub airports. Well-heard studies actually document and quantified these changes in between 2003 and 13. And I'm not going to say more details about this, but what he found was that in broader sense, that airports located in large metropolitan areas, they gained their service, whereas airports located in small regions lost their service. And this change happened in the time when there was a fluctuation in fuel price and economic recession. And different studies actually focused on this market leakage and airport choice topic. Ryerson and Kim, their studies focused on 4 mega regions and found that the extent of market leakage is 16 to 32%. That means 16 to 32% of the home passengers of the local airport leak to substitute large airports. For example, Oklahoma City Airport and Shiverport Airport to DFW, and other small medium airport to large airports like Atlanta, Charlotte, and Phoenix. The study also quantified the contribution of this leakage on surface transportation, and they found the impact on AADT is 1 to 2.75% on average, and it's up to 10 to 12% on certain segments, depending on the density. So this percentage may seem low, but this is really very significant in terms of congestion. And this market leakage also means, has implications like it means fleeing economic development to other regions. And it also means lack of service in local airports. Then the price may go further high, and this may also contribute further leakage. So it's a kind of vicious circle. And it also shows the mismatch between demand and supply. So demand management becomes an important issue. So Ryerson and Woodburn study, they actually looked how these demand management issues are addressed in EIS for airport capacity expansion. And they found most of cases, those demand management things got less importance in EIS. And FAA run a program called incentive program, air service incentive program. And Ryerson study found also that those incentive programs are more successful in large airport, attracting airline service, attracting new service in that airport, but those have limited success in small and medium airports. But the main speed of this program is to attract services in small and medium service airports. Federal government also provide funding to MPOs and regional planning agencies for conducting regional aviation system plan, or RASPs. MPOs, those have large hub airports located in their regions, and those have capacity. They can apply for discretionary funding, and they can conduct RASP, and they can address the congestion demand management issues in their RASP, and those can play complementary role in master plan and EIS plan, master plan and EIS. And Government Accountability Office, they looked how MPOs conduct this RASP, and they found that among 6 regions, 4 regions, RASP are conducted by MPOs, and in some MPOs, they address the demand management thing. Other regions, they do not have RASP at all. And in some cases, they are not conducted like in New York region. The RASP are not conducted by MPOs. Instead, they are conducted by private nonprofit organization. And GAO report also finds some hindrance of implementing these RASPs. First of all, those are advisory in nature and need not to influence the capital improvement plan of the airport. MPOs are mostly responsible for surface transportation, not airport planning. And there are some conflicts of interest, like airlines do not want to lose their service to competing airports. So the GAO report recommends more direct role of FAA in RASP planning, and also should give priority funding to those projects those are consistent with RASP. Airport governance, I'm going to very briefly discuss about airport governance here. Mostly two types of governance are seen in USA. First is general purpose government, those who are governed by city, county, or state, and special purpose authority like airport authority, board, or commission. And mostly prevalent are general purpose airport owned and operated by municipality or cities. There are also multiple airport system. A single entity operates multiple airports. Airport can be multimodal like port authority, and only few instances they can be privatized. So here in this study, we selected Texas Triangle as our case. Texas Triangle is one of the fastest growing mega regions in the USA. Economic growth, population growth, and they have the Texas Triangle has two of the busiest airports in the USA, DFW and Intercontinental Houston. Texas Triangle cities show good amount of interaction with each other. They compete with each other, yet they play complementary role. And in Texas Triangle, there is highest amount of inter-mega regional air passenger flow. For instance, DFW to Houston, Austin to Houston, Austin to Dallas, DFW. So they show a good amount of interaction. There are 10 commercial hub airports, two large hub airports, including DFW and Houston Intercontinental, 4 medium hub, and 4 non-hub. And there are numerous other general aviation airports in this region. So we looked at airport and MPO websites and important documents like master plan, LRTP, and developed the case. We looked at airport governance, MPO governance, their ownership, operation, whether they're represented in an airport is represented in MPO board or not. Looked at master plan, layout plan, whether airport ground access got importance in master planning effort, whether there is a separate dedicated access plan or multimodal access plan for the airport or not, whether LRTP addressed the ground transportation issues, airport issues in their long range planning, to what extent, and also other documents like RASP, regional airport system planning, and state aviation system planning. And this two table shows the checklist from our initial document screening. Governance, DFW is owned by board, whereas other airports, big airports, are owned and operated by city. Houston Intercontinental, Houston has airport system. A single entity operates 3 airports there: Houston, Intercontinental, Hobby Airport, and Eddington Airport. And then we also looked whether there is any separate multimodal access plan, but we did not find any airport have this type of plan. Master planning effort, 2 airports, Dallas Love Field and Houston Intercontinental, they address access, airport access, but only on-site access issue in their master plan, but other 2 airports did not mention anything about ground access thing. Regional, we also look like how airport master plan incorporate MPOS planning or list of the projects in their master plan. Only Houston addressed these issues, but other did not. And then MPOs, for only NCTGOG, they have representation of airport representation in their board. Other MPOs do not have. Houston and Campo, they do not have. Committee, NCTCOG has a dedicated committee, but other Houston and Campo, they do not have any dedicated airport committee. NCTCOG involved, NCTCOG and Houston Galveston Area Council, they involved in RASP, but Campo is not involved. LRTP, NCTCOG has separate goals policies for aviation related issues in their LRTP, but other two do not have. Similarly, NCTCOG has separate data collection effort for airport, but other two, Houston and Campo, they do not have. Our case study is still going. We are continuing our interview, but I'm going to highlight the main facts here. I'm going to skip this slide, but just want to mention here is that for Dallas Love Field Airport, until 2014, there was right amendment there, so that restricted their operations. But after 2014, this amendment was lifted, so they expand their operations. So demand in Love Field is now growing. Airport governance, as I mentioned, DFW Airport is operated by 12-member board, represented both by Dallas and Fort Worth, 7 voting members from Dallas and 4 from Fort Worth and 1 from the neighboring city, but non-voting member. And Dallas Love Field Airport is owned and operated by Aviation Department of the city. MPO governance, RTC, the MPO has 1 representative from airport board, and they has a dedicated committee, and they have a separated aviation department housed under congestion management department. Their main focus is integrating UAS or unmanned aircraft system or drone. So regarding this drone, there is significant collaboration between airport and MPOs, but those are mainly focused on drone issues. LRTP, like I mentioned, LRTP has a separate chapter for airport ground access. They specifically mentioned about the goal, programs, policies. And NCTCOG is also responsible for preparing the RASP every 10 years. But that RASP is only focused on GA facilities, general aviation facilities, particularly 11 general aviation facilities in the national plan. And they mentioned about the forecast, need assessment, also about the ground transportation access related issues, traffic count surrounding the airports. These RASP play important role in state aviation planning, and Texas is one of the few states which operate the block grant program by TxDOT. So these RASP guides those process. We talked about modeling effort, how airport is considered. NCTCOG has separate submodel for airport, and they conduct airport origin destination surveys, and that fit into the model. But we did not find this type of service elsewhere, like other MPOs. But they do not have any data sharing between the airport. Airport did not give any data regarding their forecast or demand forecast to MPOs. And we noticed in some project related, in some specific projects, there are some certain collaboration between airport and MPO and multi-institutional collaboration. For instance, the Access North Texas Plan 2013 led by NCTCOG, which is a public transport planning, and they address their airport issues in that plan. For instance, access to the employees and shuttle service and special pass for airport employees who use public transportation and this type of things. Specifically the DART, the public transit, or the line, the orange line, which goes to the airport, DFW airport. It's a good example of collaboration where the transit agency, they extend the line to the airport, and airport fund the station as a part of the terminal improvement project. So that's a good example of collaboration. And we also see in certain other projects this type of collaboration, like in DFW toll road, play important role in congestion around the airport. And the MPO respondent also said right now they are collaborating on Dallas Love Field Airport on a road access project from the north. They're working together for that project. So this is our findings, and I can summarize the key points so far we have found. First of all, the dedicated committee of NCTCOG plays important role in aviation-related planning. They prepared RASP and they collaborated in other aviation issues. So this committee plays important role of the increased collaboration regarding the aviation issues. But this collaboration is very narrowly focused in some certain big projects like drone and UAS. We find less interaction in terms of regional transportation and surface transportation projects. And then second issue is about the RASP. These are mainly focused, as I mentioned, about general aviation facilities only, not primary commercial airports are considered in RASP. So you have to look further, why is the case, why they did not consider the primary airports in that plan. And we also talked about the MPO and airport staff, and they are less concerned about the market leakage thing. They are not aware of the market leakage thing, that it's a mega regional phenomenon. Outside of people from outside of the region come to their airports, so they are less aware of the situation. And master plan also, like we see, looked at the master plan, they rarely mentioned about the access issues, ground access issues. It's mainly because of the federal regulation of revenue diversion. Airport cannot spend money outside the airport. That's the hindrance here. And also there should be more formal data sharing agreement between airport and MPO regarding modeling. Airport can use MPO's data, MPOs can use airport data. So our next step is to conduct more interviews and complete our case. Maybe we can add more cases as a complementary case and recommend more policy implications regarding airport and regional transportation planning. Thank you very much. Please feel free to ask us any question you have.
Dr. Zhang?
Dr. Jan.
Yes, thank you, Mashra, for sharing a very interesting work, a topic that usually we don't look into it very much. So lots of new information to me. And I'm curious, in terms of air quality, emission, control, all of those, in general, the topic shared between the airport and airport authority or planning and then the MPO local, given that the airline emissions were general, not necessarily hurting the local, but in terms of overall interest in the emission or air quality issues. I wonder if it's part of the discussion between the airport authority or airline or and in the MPOs. Another question, probably beyond the scope of your work, is this Texas high-speed rail between Dallas and Houston, whether or not gets any interest from airport authority, certainly from airlines, but from airport or not. So I'm just curious.
Yes, high-speed rail is, when I talked with the NCTCOG staff, I asked them about like, what are some issues of mega regional collaboration. They said there's some certain discussion going on between regarding the high-speed rail and also Hyperloop thing. They're considering, and they kind of have some studies conducted regarding the high-speed rail. And they said maybe airport is involved, but he could not provide detailed information on that, but certainly it would be an interesting topic. Like high-speed rail, it's related to airport because if high-speed rail implemented, then it has certain implication on aviation and air travel. So we certainly look forward to have more information regarding high-speed rail discussion between airport and MPO. And regarding emissions, maybe we can talk about this thing with MPO officials. So far, we have not discussed that direction about the emission or air quality thing, but I think that can be an important topic of discussion.
Could I jump in? I have a,
Yeah, sure.
I really appreciated Ming's question about air quality. And it is very interesting that when we think about the air quality conformity that metropolitan planning organizations have to certify in their regions, it really doesn't account for emissions from air travel. It's just accounted for separately. So all of the air quality modeling that MPOs do is not, it's not about any significant airports in the region. So, certainly points to how siloized our transportation planning is. And really, if we want to be successful in reducing emissions from the transportation sector as a whole, whether we should continue with that more siloed approach.
And maybe I'll add to that, Mashur and Jean-Claudia, and say, as Mashur was saying, a lot of our airports are city owned, and cities will have these broad sustainability plans and document their improvements in sustainability and do emissions inventory, yet they own and operate the airport, and there won't even be a mention of the airport in that sustainability plan. And they might be making moves at the airport to enhance traffic and enhance parking and so on. And that's just not mentioned as a part of their sustainability plan. So even when the institution is one and the same, the airport is still treated as this other, as this sort of separate entity.
I'm thinking about my experience looking at some of the work in California, and California has been pretty aggressive about defining state goals for regional level emissions reductions. And even in California, the emissions accounting does not include airports at the regional scale.
Well, yeah, in terms of understanding the the local or regional impact of airport air emission, I guess I don't have the knowledge. It would be interesting to know how much, for example, given an airport, and how much pollutants will stay, for how long, and how far away. Maybe lots of flights out of Houston or Dallas. Then how much Austin is affected, right? I guess that makes mega region a really a interesting scale to look at the emission distribution and the impact distribution as well.
Yeah, maybe there are some externalities, like one region's emission maybe affect another. And also, I think I just realized like demand management here also play important role in emission. Like maybe there can be some studies done like how demand management regionally can have some impact on emission itself. Maybe an interesting direction of research.
Well, thank you so much, Mashur, John, Claudia, and Professor Ryerson. I was remiss in failing to mention your name earlier as being a co-PI on this research with Dr. Chiara. So thank you all for your feedback. Mashur, thank you so much for your presentation and time.